Welcome back everyone to another episode of All About Mechanics. Today is finally Cloudrest. Yes, I know, it's been a while. I've had a massive backlog. But anyway, this video was actually recorded before the champion point update and before the flat stat increase. So this will be a lot easier for you now based on those different factors. However, I'm going to show you every single boss individually, and we're going to show you the differences for hard mode as well, the +1, +2, and +3 variants. We'll skip ahead of some of it, obviously, because you don't need to see the same fight over and over, but they will be very detailed in their explanation, so it will make some sense, hopefully, if you are trying to do some of this stuff. Also, big shout out to the Jedi Order on PlayStation NA, because of course you can't make a Trials Mechanics video without 11 other people helping you. So thank you very much, you guys, and if you do want to see the rest of this, keep watching, it's coming right up. Now, in Cloudrest, you've got 3 major mini-bosses, and each one starts just like this. You've got several adds to start with. There aren't many, but you get them down. You've got some basic mechanics with the creepers and the horrible monstrosities that you have to kill. Watch out for the heavy attack, by the way, because the tank will hit very, very hard. But once you've cleared the adds in each individual section, a boss will spawn. So first one here, kill the adds, spawn the boss. Next one, kill the adds, spawn the boss, so on and so forth. You can kill these bosses in any order you like. So if you want to start with Siroria or Relequen or Galenwe, it's entirely your choice. You don't have to have them in a particular order. But what you do need to know is the basic mechanic for all of them. There is a griffin and there is a kind of humanoid type character. They must be separated. They must be on opposite sides of the room, because if they're too close, they will enrage each other. Now, this particular one that we're up against is actually Galenwe. We've gone for that one first. And the trick to this fight is basically pay attention to the ice damage. There's several different mechanics for each individual one, but ice damage is what you have to watch out for this one. The Griffin itself will have its own jumpy mechanics, which you have to be very careful of, but when it goes into the air, that's when you want to switch to the boss. Now, simply put, any of these AoEs, you want to avoid them, otherwise you'll be stunned. And if there are meteors landing on the group, in the form of 3 different ones in fact, the people that have them need to spread out and block in a corner somewhere, so they're not overlapping on the group. The rest of the time, there is what's known as a hoarfrost in the room, which is a spinning whirlwind that somebody must pick up. If they pick it up, they'll take damage over time, and they'll be very, very slow for about 6 seconds, then a synergy will pop up, and they have to let go of it. If they let go of it, somebody else picks it up, and so on and so forth. The same person can't pick it up twice because of the cooldown, but once 3 people have picked them up, then it will disappear for a while, then it will come back again, repeat, repeat, repeat. If you don't get rid of it, by the way, if someone doesn't pick it up and hold on to it for a bit to try and suck up the damage, then of course it will damage the entire group over and over and over, and it gets very, very aggressive and everyone's going to die. So watch out for the meteors, block them if they happen, but spread out. Watch out for the hoarfrost, pick it up, drop the synergy, somebody else takes over. In the meantime, the main boss, the Galenwe himself, will hit the tank with some rather nasty heavy attacks, which you have to be careful of, and the guy who's tanking the Griffin will have to watch out for a bleed. Now you can, there's the meteor mechanic, by the way, spread out block. You can block that bleed, the initial hit, and out heal it, or you can completely dodge roll it and avoid it overall. It hits very, very hard. But essentially now it's just up, down, up, down. When the budgie's down, hit the budgie. When the budgie's in the air, hit the boss. During the fight as well, something that's very important, there is going to be a portal in the middle of the room. You have to keep an eye out for this, because when the portal appears, you want an assigned group to go downstairs. It helps to have 2 groups, about 3 each. You can take more if you really want to, but you will get cursed, so you have to be careful not to go down twice. So the first group goes down and breaks these crystals, and orbs will appear. When the orbs appear, they'll start doing damage to the group downstairs, so bring your own heals, but it's oblivion damage, so you can't shield it, so be careful. They will drop orbs, and you don't want to pick them all up at once. As soon as you expose them, spears will become visible upstairs, rather like the one that you saw there in front of me. Now, the trick to this is expose an orb, a spear happens upstairs, somebody takes a synergy and throws it downstairs. Now you can pick up the orb, then you can deposit it where the new spear has landed. If you repeat that with 3 different orbs, then the portal will disappear and you can go back upstairs again. If you fail it, then of course the portal will not be successful, and loads of nasty big spider ads will come out, and it gets really, really messy. So you have to make sure you're very clear with this. Now, when it's over, you'll go back upstairs. You'll have a debuff on you, which isn't present on the video, but you'll have a debuff on you for about a minute, which means the next portal that comes up, you need the other group to go in instead. So you have one group go down first, second group go down next, and so on and so forth. Skipped ahead a little bit here because the fight is very long and repetitive, but basically you just keep repeating that over and over until the bosses are very close to death, but not quite. You don't want to kill one too soon and leave the other with lots and lots of health. So you want to get them both to an equal amount, almost dead, and then you can kill one and then quickly kill the other. The reason for this is if you kill one and the other has a lot of health left, you're going to start getting creepers in the room, which are like big tentacles that come out of the ground. They will root the group, they will do damage to the group, and you have to get rid of them, otherwise they cause a problem. As you can see, there's one right there. Do focus them if you get them in the room, otherwise you are in trouble. It's not the end of the world if this happens. You can alleviate the situation by simply following the mechanics and killing them while still maintaining damage on the boss, but if you can kill them both very, very close to each other, you don't have them in the room for so long. If you try and nuke one before the other and it's got loads of health left, it's going to get really tricky. Again, at execute, however, if you do find that your damage in your group is quite low and you don't think you can outlive a new portal, there's no shame in just redoing the portal mechanic again and just carrying on as normal. Now we're up to the next boss, and again, it starts exactly the same. Loads of ads, stack them on the creeper, turn the big spider dude away, and just kill them before the boss actually appears. This can't be done any other way, by the way. The boss won't spawn properly until those ads are dead. So if you wipe, you have to kill them again. Now, the creepers are a problem. You do want to focus those first. In all different mechanics in this fight, you have to get rid of them all, whether it's on the mini bosses, the main boss at the end, or whatever. But they are important. So pay attention to those now and make sure that you notice them later. Also, the spiders will put a big hit on the tank, and you have to out-heal it, otherwise they die. That's also relevant for the last boss when you get to the execute. Here, the boss fight is basically the same, apart from some very simple boss mechanics that are slightly different because of a different element type. We're actually against Siroria this time, and as you can see, there's a yellow circle there. That is not a get out of AoE circle. That's a get in AoE circle. She will drop the Dragon Knight banner, you don't want to stand in that. She will have nasty heavy attacks, you don't want to get hit by that. But she will also jump later on in the fight, but we'll go over that when her health gets lower. Same mechanics as before. Kill the budgie when it's on the ground, kill the boss when the budgie's in the air. Don't put them together because they, of course, enrage. Now, the AoE I was mentioned about a moment ago, that's where we call it basically the hug mechanic. When we first tested this at ZOS, I think it was Tekken Junk initially, shouted hug me really loud, because that's the only time we've ever seen this mechanic before. It's in other places now, but it's the first one. 3 people, minimum, must stack, because the person that has the AoE on them needs to split the damage with the group, otherwise they will pop. If you have less than 3 people stacking in that yellow circle, the person who has it on them and the other person as well will die. So be very careful. Do not run away from that AoE. The rest of the stuff, obviously, the pops that go around the room that you have to avoid because you'll get stunned. There's little whirlwinds there. Exactly the same as the last boss. Nice and easy. This stuff here, the big circles on the ground, avoid those. Not that hard to see what's going on. And if you do get stunned, don't worry, just break free. But you must hug up with that mechanic if you see a yellow circle underneath someone's feet. That is also in a video called Don't Stand in Stupid on my channel. And now we just repeat the fight. Hit the bird, when it goes in the air, hit the boss, and repeat while watching out for the mechanics. You still have this, however. You still have the portals. You do go downstairs, you do kill these crystals, you do expose the orbs. And again, once an orb is exposed, a spear will appear upstairs. Someone upstairs will have to pay attention to this and run over and grab the synergy. Now, if you do get rid of these too quickly and you expose them all at once, yes, you will take extra damage downstairs, so be careful. But as long as the spear is exposed, you can pick up the orb and drop it in the circle. Very simple. 3 times, done, portal carries on, and you go upstairs. Nice and simple. But if you take too long, as you saw there was loads of spider ads, they will come out. Did explain it on the last one, but you skipped ahead a little bit. The reason we haven't skipped ahead a little bit on this one is because Siroria has a new mechanic when it gets to under 50%. She will actually jump like a Dragon Knight leap, and she will do that into the group. If that happens, you need to get out of it as soon as possible and watch out for the 3 spreading AoEs that come out of it, because they will hurt. If you're in there for more than a couple of ticks, you will die, so be very careful of that. It's sometimes hard to see if you've got really high damage because you might actually skip some of that, but if you do spot it, get out quickly. But not at the expense of stacking inside that yellow circle. If you don't protect your group, they will die, and resin from this is very tricky. Not to mention you've also got some whirlwinds going around, which are fire-based. They're not hard to see. They are very obvious. Just don't stand in them. Again, also, as you can see, the creepers are coming out rapidly. If you do kill the boss too early, you will, of course, have to deal with those. Now, the next boss, again, is rinse repeat as far as basic mechanics are concerned. You have the bleed heavy attack from the budgie, you have the heavy attack from the boss, you must split them up with 2 tanks on different sides of the room, and you must follow the portal mechanics. And again, at the beginning, you've got a couple of creepers and a big spider ad that you have to kill before the boss is able to be attacked. But this particular mechanic, instead of the ice Hoarfrost that you have to deal with, that you have to pick up and drop and pick up and drop, instead of the fire mechanic that you have to hug up or jump out of the way if she jumps on you, you have a lightning mechanic, which is not very nice at all. And this is very different to most mechanics. It's not watch your feet, it's watch your bar. Because if you are shocked, you will have a massive blue AoE on your screen, which is really obvious and scary. If that happens, you must swap bars to your other bar. And if you come back to the other bar before the duration is over, you will constantly zap your group. As you can see there were 2 lightning AoEs that were on 2 different people and they disappeared. That's because they swapped bars. You must stay on that bar for about 10 seconds or keep it on the last debuff on your bar where it looks like a lightning sword. Once that's gone, you're safe. Whoever gets that mechanic must swap bars. In the meantime, Relequen will put out some nasty frontal AoE type stuff. It's very, very large. You can block it or dodge it. It's entirely up to you. Either way, just don't take the full force of it. He will spin his staff occasionally at the tank in the form of a heavy attack and spread lightning across the floor. Just try and avoid this. If you do block it, you will block the initial hit, but you can be stunned by it, so be careful. And also, he will channel. As you can see earlier, and here as well, lots and lots of AoE spreading out on top of people individually. Now, you can spread out and avoid most of the damage, but the easiest way to alleviate this situation is to actually just interrupt the boss. It's very straightforward. One simple bash, problem solved. Now, you will get lightning, meteor type effects on the ground. As you can see there on the right hand side, there's a big circle of lightning. Simply don't stand in it. So for the most part, it's avoid the cone, don't stand in stupid, and interrupt the boss while hitting the budgie. Again, hit the budgie while it's on the ground, hit the boss while the budgie's in the air. And yes, the portals are still relevant, like I said earlier. Pay close attention to those. 2 things to note, by the way, about Relequen and Galenwe. If you are going down into the portal, do not take a Hoarfrost with you on Galenwe, because you'll have to drop it or die, and even if you die or drop it, it's going to stay downstairs and everyone's going to take massive AoE damage. Don't do that. Relequen, however, if you've got the bar swap mechanic, you can go into the portal with it, but do not go onto that other bar while you're down there because you're going to kill your group. As far as portal teams are concerned, you do need 2 because each one that comes out will have a debuff on them and they can't go back in for about a minute. But if it helps you, take a healer down there with you or someone that's got some form of self or group heals. You will take damage down here. It is quite stressful. Yes, some groups are capable of going down there with 1 player or 2 players. Make it easy for yourself. If you're learning early on and you want to make this an easier ride for you for the sake of completion, take 3 or 4 people down there with you and make sure you've got plenty of heals. You'll be just fine. Just remember, don't pick up the ball until you can see a spear. The people upstairs are responsible for making those go downstairs. Nice and simple again. As you can see, the orb on the side there, I'm completely ignoring it. We are taking damage from it, but once a spear comes out, that's when you can pick it up. You must heal, though. As you can see, the dude beside me is taking some massive damage. And when you come upstairs, just like every other portal, you'll get some tiny little mini ads. As long as you succeed, you won't get the giant spiders. Again, just to reiterate a point, in this fight, the tanks must stay separate. If that budgie goes near the boss, both of them are going to be enraged, and your tanks are going to die. Yes, there's some very, very strong tanks out there that could possibly stand up to it, but you really don't want to get hit by enraged hits by some of this stuff. It's really, really nasty. For the most part, stay behind the boss and stack. Every single boss, hit this bird. When the bird is in the air, turn around and hit the boss. And just keep repeating that. As you saw there, the big blue circle on the ground, dark blue one, that's me needing to bar swap. I cannot go to the other bar until that's over. You can see the debuffs on the end of my buffs. Once the blue one disappears, I can go back to it. One very important tip for that, by the way, if you have subtitles on, you can tell when the lightning's coming before it actually lands on you. You get like a 3-second warning, maybe not quite that, but you get a warning. You can play strategically with that and deliberately put yourself on a bad bar that you don't want to be on, and then when it lands, you must swap. So if you're a healer, for example, and you have some damage skills on the back and some healing skills on the front, who knows, you could be built that way. Then you could deliberately stay on your bar that doesn't have any heals, get shocked, swap bars, now you're on your healing bar. Bit advanced, but pay attention to stuff like that, it can really help. Now the last boss, again, just like the others, you do have loads of ads first, then the boss can be attacked. You cannot attack the boss until these are dead. Watch out for any Mark Bane type of attacks during this fight. It's going to be mostly towards the end on the execute, but you do have a rather similar, really hard-hitting, health draining ability from the spiders, and the healers have to be on point. They have to get that debuff away from you. The only way to get rid of the debuff is to actually out-heal it. When you have it on you, your healing done is reduced. Your healing received is fine, but your healing done is reduced, so be very careful. Now, don't drop your ultimate straight away, because she's only there for about 6 seconds, so she will move, drop your ultis here. But, essentially, this is the standard version of the fight. You're only against her, but there are some very important mechanics. You do have the portals, slightly different, but you do. And you also have these orbs that you have to kill. So whenever they're present, you must kill them. Don't touch them, and don't leave them too long. If you touch them or leave them too long, they will break, and then they will stun the group. That's really, really bad. In the meantime, the boss will jump around the room backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. You just have to follow her and get back into position while the tank holds her away from everybody else, facing away from everybody else. Otherwise, the frontal AoE Mind Blast will kill everyone. The tank can block it. The group will die in 2 or 3 hits from it. It's not nice at all. In the meantime, the furthest away players, so the tank on the other side of the boss, and people out in the open will actually have a circle AoE beaming from the boss. You can see there's a big beam going out way to the back there. We've got a healer really far away, and we've got one on the tank as well. They just have to wiggle and avoid those. Once they're gone, carry on as normal. But if you do get caught by them, you'll take some massive damage very, very quickly. Now, once the portal is done, you will get some ads coming in. You'll get a big spider ad and a few other little minions. You do want to focus those as soon as possible, so you can just leave the boss with the tank. It's not a problem. You don't have to rush this fight. There's no real execute negative effects to if you don't have high damage. You can pace it as much as you like. You can take an hour on this boss if you really want to without dying. It really doesn't matter. There's no check for this unless you're going for speed runs and stuff like that. So take your time. Focus full mechanics. Kill the orbs, hit the boss. Kill the orbs, hit the boss. Don't miss the portal. Now, a key point about the portal is it helps to have a second tank, because the tank will need to go downstairs and taunt a shadow version of Zamaja, because otherwise it will nuke the group. It will just aim at DPS players down there and kill them very, very quickly. So it helps to have 3 tanks in here if you can, or 2 tanks and someone that's just very, very strong, maybe with an ice staff to have that mitigation for their block and everything. As you can see there's the shade. Now, these are the same. You've got multiple shards. You have to break them to let the orbs appear. Once that happens, spears go upstairs. You know how it works. You've seen it already. But there's lots more in here, so some of these could be blank. In the meantime, the ads are going towards the middle, which will affect people upstairs. And you've got this mechanic. This room is going to explode. You see the winds there? Run up to it, synergize it, you'll jump up to here. Boom, you're safe. Get back down before the extra explosion comes up. And carry on as normal. The whole time, that shadow down there needs to be controlled by the tank, otherwise it will kill people. Again, the tip for this, apart from how many tanks you take, is to make sure that when your group is going to go downstairs, regardless of which team you're in, the tank always goes first. So here's a tip for you groups out there that want to coordinate. Do not go in the portal until you hear your tank say, tank down, or something to that effect. And hopefully that doesn't mean they're dead. But all they need to do is let you know that they've taunted the shadow. And again, like I said, when you come out, you now have to deal with the spider bosses, spider ads even. Now, as you can see, the health has got quite low on the boss because they have been fighting them while we're downstairs, and now the creepers have started to arrive. Now, technically, they'd already started because they come in at about 40%, but you do want to focus them as soon as they come up. Also, prior to this, at around 60%, you'll start getting what we call the pizza mechanic, which is basically a big triangle AoE that you must get out of. If you don't get out of it, you are going to be pulled downstairs. Also note, if you get in that by accident downstairs, you'll be brought back upstairs. So be very, very careful with that. It's a bit tricky. There's the pizza mechanic. Get out of it. The way to spot the portal is whenever the griffin comes down, the portal is active. Now, this is basically rinse repeat until the boss is at almost 0% health. So you keep doing this, you follow the boss around, always kill the orbs, always kite the big darkness stuff, and always get out of the pizza. Always take a alternate team turns, because of the debuff, downstairs to get rid of the orbs and the spheres. And in the meantime, do not panic, do not run around the room like a headless chicken, and do always kill those creepers when they happen. Now, one very important thing to note about recovery. If you die, do not, I repeat, do not resurrect someone straight away. I would like to say in an ideal situation or in an ideal world that people are very, very helpful and they res people as soon as they're on the ground. We all know that never bloody happens. But in this trial, you don't want that to happen. Because if somebody dies, a shadow will come out. They only have 100k health, but a shadow will come out. If you don't kill that shadow first, before rezzing, you will take a one-shot and die. So, most situations, it's pick people up really quickly. This one, it's shadow first, res second. That's really, really important. And that makes the difference between winning and losing, especially when it comes to the hard mode, because it can get clustered very, very quickly. From here on, this is literally rinse, repeat. So, make sure you stack on the tail as much as possible. Don't stand in front of the boss's face. Make sure the tank and a far healer or a far DPS, if you've got a range one, is keeping the darkness away from the group. Make sure people are picking up the spears for the group downstairs, and make sure you alternate your portal groups and always let the tank go first. Creepers are priority again, pay attention. Now when the boss is low health or 0 health almost, the shade will come through the portal, and the fight is new. This is not execute. This is the end of the fight, but it's not execute. That boss has 100% health coming through there, do not Jesus beam. It's essentially a new boss, so treat it as such. Now, the tank needs to turn it away from the group, but it helps to have an off tank because you are going to have to swap out every so often. Because people will get Mark Bane. You'll notice that the health is actually going to go down on the group by about 50% or so in big, big chunks. Everyone who has that on them is what you call Mark Bane, they're cursed, and the healers have to out-heal that health bar in order to remove the curse. Your self-heals will suck, but your received heals will be fine. So healers, play very careful on this one, make sure you're paying attention. If a tank gets Mark Bane, of course, they're going to get hit really, really hard by the boss anyway, so they do need to be healed fast, so prioritize them. In the meantime, as you can see here, 2 separate groups, making sure that the darkness is still kited, and of course, making sure that creepers still die. There are AoEs on the ground that you can avoid. Yeah, you can probably kind of half tank those and take heals anyway, especially with the new flat stats involved, but I would advise you to step out of it. Now, the reason we're in 2 different groups is not just so we can reach different sides of the room if the creepers come up, and the orbs, you must still kill those, but it is because the hard mode will give you all 3 major mini-boss mechanics, and you'll need to be in smaller groups rather than all stacked, because otherwise you will die. You don't want 2 Hoarfrosts stacked together, you don't want 2 Siroria circles stacked together, and you most certainly don't want everyone having lightning shocks on the whole group. And now, we're going to show you the difference to actual regular mode and hard mode. So if you want to go for the full +3, that means killing no mini bosses first. You go straight into the fight and they're all involved. If you want to do +1, you kill 2 mini bosses of your choice, and the one you leave will be in the fight. If you want to do +2, you kill 1 mini boss of your choice, and the other 2 will be in the fight. If you want to do +3, you go straight in and pull the boss. Very fast-paced mini trial. It's really, really cool that you can just get in, get out. And we're going to demonstrate the differences here. I'm not going to bore you with a full run because, let's face it, you've seen the boss die already. You don't need to see that. But what you do need to see is the mechanics that you're going to be presented with to make this more difficult than the basic version. Now, the boss itself, the orbs, the adds, the portals, everything is the same. So take your time, relax, there's no rush. But you will have the adds in the room. And you will have to fight them at certain percentages, and you will have to deal with their basic mechanics. Now, the way to do this is not to panic. Most people try to over-nuke stuff before they understand how to do mechanics. You can stack the mini adds on the boss, of course, but if you've got loads of AoE damage, you run the risk of killing the boss too quickly and pushing for the next add to come in before the last one is dead. Or, if you don't have a lot of damage, you might just be struggling, running around the room, trying to play stuff, and it just gets a big mess. So what you want to do is stay together as a group, obviously, as much as possible. As you can see here, we've got Siroria circles. That's the first one you're going to have trouble with. But when the boss comes into the room, take it to one side. Take it away from the boss. Leave a healer with the tank, unless the tank can survive on their own, with Zamaja, and just take the boss out of the equation. Other side of the room, go and kill it. Once it's dead, come back. There's no rush. Unless you're going for achievements and you want to be really, really fast, there's no rush to completing this. If you just want the skin, separate the fight. Now, when the health is at 75% health, Siroria will come in. When the boss is at 50% health, then of course the next one will come in, which is Relequen, and then at 25% health, Galenwe will come in. Now here's the thing, it's not like Vass. It's not like Asylum Sanctorum where you have to kill them and they sit down and come back up again. You kill them, they sit down and get back up again. No, once they're down, they're down. So like I said, Separate it, take it to the other side of the room, sit the boss down, problem solved. Now you can do that for each individual one and come back to the boss and then you're just fine. Or, like you can see here, you can hold it by the boss. But be very careful, because if you push the boss too far and this isn't down, you'll have to deal with both in the room at the same time. You don't have to do that. So, for ease of use or for easier mechanics for you, split them up, leave the tank and a healer to one side, you'll be just fine. Now, you are looking at some other advanced mechanics in here. Each individual mini-boss, whether they're in the room or not, does have their mechanics present, and you will have to pay attention to them. You do have the Hoarfrost, which you should know how to work with by now. So you pick up the synergy, you leave it with you, you drop it again, someone else picks it up, and after 3 times it goes away, it comes back later. The fire mechanic, the hug mechanic, you know what to do. Stack as a group, 3 minimum, you'll be fine. And the lightning, yes, you'll get 2 of these at a time. Make sure that if anyone's got a big beam on top of their head, the room will light up blue for them. They can obviously see it. Make sure they swap bars as fast as possible. Do not stay on the lightning bar, because you will kill everyone rapidly. Do not leave the Hoarfrost out in the open, and do not run away from someone with a hug mechanic. Apart from that, that's pretty much it until execute. But we're going to go through all the different individuals. As you can see, Siroria does still drop her banner. She does still do the jump when she's low, and she will still need to be blocked from a heavy attack if that is going towards the tank. Now, if the DPS is going to get heavy attacked, which hopefully they shouldn't be, make sure you dodge roll it, because on vet it will kill you. Again, the choice is yours of how you approach this particular part of the fight. You can hug it up to the boss as long as you don't overburn the boss, or you can split the fight up completely. Zamaja can take as long as you like. But one very important thing to note, apart from the portals, paying attention to those, you must always kill those orbs. If you touch them or leave them, then they will explode, the tank will get stunned, then the boss will punch them, everyone's going to die. Always focus the orbs. No matter how much you want to try and push your deeps, kill the orbs at all costs. +2, the difference to the health percentages of the boss as far as the adds are concerned, there isn't much in it, but there is a difference. Relequen we're going to demonstrate here, obviously, because you haven't seen him yet already in this particular fight, but his mechanics are the same as usual. You have the bar swap, which we already have present, and of course you've got to watch out for his interrupt and his stuns and all that good stuff. So again, you can separate him on the other side of the room, deal with him there and come back. But Relequen, or Siroria or Galenwe, whichever order you do +2 in, the bosses will appear, instead of 75, 50, and 25, they will appear at 65 and then 35. And then if you do +1, the boss, just the one mini-boss, will actually come in at 50. So, to recap over that, the mini-bosses will come in at 75, 50, and 25 if you do them +3. They'll come in at 65 and 35 if you do them +2, and they'll come in at 50 if you do them +1. The actual bosses themselves in +1, +2, or +3 are no different. They have their own mechanics, and you have to deal with it. That's it. The only difference, of course, from +1, +2, and +3 is that you have their ambient mechanics, if you like. They are present in the room while you're there. So if you don't want to deal with Siroria, and you can fight Relequen and, say, Galenwe, then of course go kill Siroria first and then come and do +2. Or, if you don't want Siroria in the room, if you don't want Galenwe in the room, you don't want the Hoarfrost, go kill him first. If you don't want Relequen in the room, go kill him first. That's up to you. And +1, again, same applies. Kill the 2 bosses you don't want in the room first, then come here and fight Zamaja and the 1 boss. But if you do want to do +3, just walk straight in, start fighting. Key points, again, I can't stress this enough. Orbs must be killed. Creepers must be killed. Watch out for the pizza. Do stack with Siroria's AoE. Don't forget to bar swap when your screen lights up all blue and shiny. And do pick up the Hoarfrost and make sure you drop it after it's ready to be dropped. Otherwise, you're in trouble. The rest of the time, just stay behind the boss and hit it. It's very, very simple. People do make it look more complicated than it has to be. Yes, there's a lot going on, but if you section off each individual mechanic separately, it becomes a lot easier to digest and there's a lot less panic in the room. Now, we have skipped ahead a little bit here. As you can see, Relequen is now down and he is pinned to the ground. So like I said earlier, once they sit down, they stay down. There's no panic like there is in Asylum Sanctorium. Sit the boss down in your own time. They don't come back. You still have their mechanic to deal with, but they don't come back into the fight. Now, we skipped ahead a little bit, of course, but the final boss that you have to deal with is, of course, at 25% on +3. It's at 35% at +2. But as you can see here, Galenwe is in the room. We do have to deal with him. He's got interrupts that have to be paid attention to. And, of course, he's got meteors that you have to spread out and block. Again, you can treat this boss as you see fit. If your group wants to stack it on the boss, then so be it. But if you want to make it easy for yourself, take him to the other side of the room and kill him in the corner where no one can actually have any major issues with the boss and him combined. You could overburn, and that's a problem when it comes to execute. You don't want him alive at the end. So just sit him down and then carry on with the boss. Now, you saw there's a shadow there that I had to kill. That was mentioned earlier. If someone dies, shadow first, res second. Again, you will at this point have to deal with creepers, so they do take priority. You will have to deal with the orbs, so they take priority as well. But essentially, kill the boss in your own time, this mini boss even, and then approach the Marja later. There's no rush, just make sure you follow clean mechanics, otherwise this starts happening and everyone starts dying. Now, when it comes to execute, I did mention this earlier, set yourself up into 2 groups, because you're going to have the lightning from multiple people, you're going to have double Hoarfrost, you're going to get double Siroria circles that you have to stack in your own individual groups. Separate into 2 groups. Make sure your healers are on point, make sure you don't stand in stupid, and make sure, of course, the tank is being helped a lot because they may have to switch occasionally while one has to kite the darkness away from the boss, and of course they might be taking a lot of damage, and it's always good to have a backup just in case something goes wrong. If people die, kill the shadows first, kill the orbs, kill the creepers. Do not let them go off in the group. And when it comes to this, panic will set in for people. That's something you have to delete from your own mind. Do not panic at this point in time. It can get really, really scary, but it's a full boss. Treat it like a new fight. 2 separate stacks. Keep your heals up. Be careful. Stack in the hug mechanics. Grab the Hoarfrost and drop it when you have to, and don't run around the room like a headless chicken. If you have to move, you have to move, but be very, very careful. Like here, there's the AoE you have to step out of, or someone might have to kite the darkness away. It's not the end of the world as long as you stay relative to your separate groups. Sometimes people have to switch if they get stuck and so on. You have to recover from reses, whatever. Just make sure as much as you possibly can, you coordinate and still make sure there's 2 separate groups regardless if people get clustered up or not. At the end of the day, if you keep this up, you will be just fine, but healers are very, very important at this point. If you don't out-heal that Mark Bane, people are going to take too much damage from other stuff and you're going to end up with a lot of deaths. Focus the orbs, focus the creepers, then kill the boss. So hopefully that helped, hopefully that wasn't too confusing. There are many, many different individual small mechanics alongside some of the larger ones, but as long as you section them up bit by bit and understand them fully, it becomes a lot easier to manage. It's basically stack, turn around, kill stuff, stack, turn around, kill stuff. It's quite straightforward, but you do have to watch your feet and you do have to be very aware and coordinate as a group. Bit of practice and you'll be there. However, to add to that, there is a little bit of hope for you. Instead of just running in on Vet, which is fine. I mean, the mini trials are designed for that. They get in, get out. If you don't want to go straight in at Vet, you can practice this, of course, on normal. Just ease up on your DPS, obviously, so you don't nuke the crap out of it. And you can now see the mechanics more clearly and not die quite as often if you want to do that. The good thing about the mini trials is the normal one is exactly the same as the Vet one in most respects. It just means they've got a lot less health and they don't hit as hard. Again, big shout out to Jedi Order on PlayStation NA. Much appreciated for the help. I can't get the video done by myself, so definitely need people to do that. So thank you for taking the time out of your day to do so. And for anyone that is looking for the written guide, of course, that is in the description as well. So you can have that on hand whenever you want to read up on any of the mechanics. Once again, thank you all very much for watching. I hugely appreciate the support. And if you are not subscribing, please do hit that button. It is free. Furthermore, if you want to help support outside the channel, there are some links in the info section for Patreon, Twitter, Facebook, and the website XynodeGaming.com. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.